Bienvenidos, worldwide fans of the hottest entertainment on the planet. Jaime En Fuego here, and I welcome you to my namesake program, Enfuegotainment. It's been a hot minute, but so very stoked to have another film. The first time in a bit, as I mentioned, that I'm stoked to discuss. We're talking about the Murder on the Orient Express sequel entitled Death on the Nile.
He's only the greatest detective alive.
I suspect you invited me for reasons other than the fun.
You had something to hide.
We have the Karnak all to ourselves, a chef and enough champagne to fill the Nile.
Should have hidden it, shouldn't you?
When you have money, no one is ever really your friend.
It's too late to change events. It's time to face the consequence.
And yes, this is most definitely a film that I was curious about because I was late to the party in the previous film that had obviously Kenneth Branagh, right, directing, adapting the previous adaptation, which I think was like 50, 60, something like that. In any event, it had Daisy Ridley, tons of other great, ensemble cast in it. But this one, I was seeing buzz that it was a significant improvement, and dizam is it. And I think one of the biggest reasons this film succeeds in comparison with the last one is because the last one was... it had more of a purveyance of whimsy, I think, which isn't bad because, Poirot, I think is how you properly pronounce his moniker, this famous sleuth detective, this Frenchie. There is a slight bit of silliness to him. He's like the mustache twirling, not villain, but detective in this particular case. But this one hit on an emotional level a little bit more because we actually see why he has the mustache, because he's hiding a scar, and it actually goes back to World War I and shows where he got it, some of the associated events within it, including some stuff with the love of his life. And so we get backstory about the character that further grounds the love that is at the core of this, and also just all of the conniving and backhanded stuff that is going on in this narrative. And that's because the heavily debated Armie Hammer is in this, and he, early in the film when we first meet him, is engaged to another woman, and then in turn meets Gal Gadot, and he decides to switch his aspirations and allegiances, and it shifts a few months later into the story, and you find out he is not marrying the other woman who was friends with Gal's character, no less, but yeah, he is going for the money and the, I guess, comparable beauty. They're both very lovely actresses, but nonetheless, so yeah, Armie's character is marrying Gal, and it's beautifully shot, all of the different locations. They're in Egypt, obviously, hence the Death on the Nile title. But yeah, just from the costuming to the camera work to performances, Kenneth Branagh, who directs once again and stars as Poirot, it's great, and there is still amusement and slight bits of silliness here and there, but it's balanced so much better, and I think this cast is also even better. I mean, you do have the returning, I think his name is Tom Bateman, ironically Daisy Ridley's Bay, whatever the hell you want to say, but he's back. He's really, besides Poirot, the only returning character. And you can tell that he has only further solidified his friendship with Kenneth Branagh's sleuth. And but you also meet Bateman's character's mother, which is played by Annette Bening. And then we've already mentioned Gal and Armie. But you also have for me at least, pretty much unrecognizable Russell Brand. So yeah, he's cut off the hair and he's playing it very straight. He's a doctor who was formerly actually engaged to Gal's character himself, and just the rest of the supporting. I love the Sophia Oreno. Oh goodness, she plays this. I'm probably butchering her last name or forgetting it entirely. Between her and Letitia Wright, who is from most noticeably and recognizable, at least, Black Panther. The two of them. One is the daughter and I guess kind of manager of Sophia, her mother, who is this like blues, kind of jazz sort of singer, dressed up like a flapper and stuff, but just lovely in appearance and in voice. And she brings a musical aspect to this with her performance that I feel like was lacking in Murder on the Orient Express. And so you have the music aspect, you have another dynamic cast that is maybe even better than the previous one, and you also have more heart and breadth of emotion. So all of those things really make for just a significant improvement from Murder on the Orient Express. And also, I I have always wanted to go to Egypt since I was a little kid, and I'm not sure how much was done on location, but it sure as hell looked like it. I mean, they go to the tomb of Ramses, I believe, or maybe it was for his wife, or one of his 8 wives, as they jokingly say, at one particular point, but it is amazingly shot, and just seeing those huge, you know, carvings of these pharaohs and stuff, and you know, just the decomposition as well. You know, one is missing like most of a nose, the other one is almost completely gone entirely of the 4 that, you know, are the entrance to this tomb, and then also the stuff on the Nile on this like riverboat, I guess, that they're on. That the murder takes place on, and I'm not going to specify who is killed, but it is in conjunction with, you know, this newly married couple, and there's a bevy of suspects, as you would expect, and it's one of the main detractors, and what is probably what gave me to notch down the rating just a slight bit, is that very early in this film, I pretty much guessed who the perpetrator, or plural, was going to be. And so for that reason, that is one of the few detractors of this film that I can think of, because it is a legit delight. The interrogation of all of the passengers on board, they all have their unique sort of flair, but there is also, just to credit Branagh's direction, so many of, and you know, his work with his DP, this is a Scott-free production, which is Ridley Scott's company, and I don't know who was the cinematographer for this, but it is absolutely gorgeous, especially just the movement of the camera, as I was saying, on the boat. So there is this tracking shot where it is following, going from corridor to corridor, you know, like room to room, trying to rouse everybody after a crime has taken place, and it's just so masterfully done. The slickness of that movement is so damn good, and also just the framing of the interrogation stuff, just the symmetry of everything from chair placement to, and once again, you know, the costuming and the locales, these beautiful, just very ritzy buildings of the era, where so much takes place, from the wedding to receptions to being on the riverboat itself, to even the stuff that Poirot is indulging himself in dessert-wise, and which is a very amusing sequence of his just neuroticism, where he's like, nope, it has to be an even number, it can't be, you know, because they serve him, I think, 7 desserts at this ritzy restaurant, and he's like, nope, one has to go away because it has to be an even number, and it made me start thinking of Stephen King's N, which is a great story about that sort of just, I don't know, everything has to be of an evenness, and that sort of just borderline moderate insanity that is associated. But this film was great, and I know it was delayed many times. It was another victim of Captain Trips, as I have been so, well, not affectionately calling it, just, you know, reference to my beloved Cy King and The Stand. But nonetheless, yeah, a lot of films, you know, whether stuff from Tom Cruise, you know, delaying Top Gun, and the you know, new Mission Impossibles and everything else. There have been lots of these big budget films that they held out to release, and I don't think this is going to be like a Spider-Man No Way Home sort of situation where it's going to make gangbusters of money, and the studio was very satisfied in their decision to wait. But this movie was damn good, and I was very entertained and enthralled. It's right around 2 hours, but it did not feel like its runtime, at least for me personally. So across the board, this was a delight and a fun time at the cinema, and I think on Letterboxd, if you guys have any interest in seeing what I'm watching and just a starred review, in my case it's Fuego Fireballs, you know, but I think I gave it 3.5 there, and the only thing that notched it from a 4 down to that half point less was the predictability of who, you know, the revelation of who actually, you know, was behind the crimes and stuff. But I don't do half stars on these video reviews when I do get to them, and so yeah, I guess since I have to either round up or round down in this particular sort of scenario, I'm gonna say 4. I'm gonna say 4 out of 5 Fuego Fireballs. This is a certified Fuego film, as I'd like to say. So, extende grande gracias. I've been Jaime En Fuego, and you can find more on all social media sectors, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, here on YouTube, first video since the holidays. But I do want to say that I did a soft little launch for a personal Patreon. It is going to be officially rolling out here on 2/22/22, and that's where you can tell me what to do. Yeah, that's right. As far as film reviews, as far as if there's a commentary, if you would like to join me for a bit of film discussion, that option is there as well. And I'm also going to be putting together either weekly or monthly sort of like newsletters, things that I've watched, and a little bit of news from the week, maybe some stuff that is going to be releasing in the upcoming week, or I'll do it monthly. I guess that's really going to be determined based on how much support I get on the patron sector, and all of it is supremely appreciated, just like you checking out this video are rad status. So I've been Fuego, y'all have been awesomeness, and until the reel of Ka comes around once more, hasta luego, amigos, constant viewers and readers alike, say thank you, and I'm hopeful we share more of this palabra about the cinema sooner rather than later. And until then, head out to the theater for this one. I most def recommend.